Hi there. Hyperinflation. It's one of those big, scary words you hear in the news. But what does it actually mean? And why is it such a disaster when it happens? In this video, we're going to break it down in simple terms. You'll learn what hyperinflation is, why it happens, and most importantly, why it's so devastating for ordinary people like you and me. Let's start with the basics. Regular inflation is when prices rise slowly over time. If a burger meal cost $5 10 years ago and $8 this year, that's inflation. Around 2 to 4% a year is considered normal. In fact, a little inflation is healthy. It keeps the economy moving, encourages people to spend instead of hoarding, and helps businesses grow. But hyperinflation is different. Hyperinflation is when inflation goes completely out of control. Economists usually define it as prices rising more than 50% in a single month. That may not sound too bad at first, but let's do the math. Imagine bread costs $2. By the end of the month, it costs $3. Next month, $4.50. Then $7. The month after that, $10. And it keeps going. Within a year, that same loaf of bread could cost thousands. When this happens, money quickly stops being useful. Your paycheck is worthless by the time you spend it. People literally run to the store on payday to buy groceries before prices go up again. Let's break down what happens and what causes hyperinflation. First, savings become worthless. Imagine you've worked 20 years and saved $50,000. This is your life's work. In hyperinflation, that might only buy a bag of groceries. All that hard work, wiped out in a matter of weeks. Second, salaries can't keep up. Even if your boss gives you a raise, prices are rising faster than your income. In some countries, workers were paid twice a day because waiting until Friday meant their money was useless. Third, daily life becomes chaotic. Shops can't keep up with changing prices. Restaurants stop printing menus because they'd be outdated the next day. You could sit down for a meal, and by the time you finish eating, the bill has already gone up. Fourth, people stop trusting money. When cash loses value, people turn to bartering. You might trade clothes for food or fuel for medicine. In some places, cigarettes, gold, or even bottles of alcohol became a form of currency. Fifth, banks collapse. If money loses value every day, why keep it in the bank? People withdraw everything, banks fail, and loans or mortgages become meaningless. Businesses shut down. Imagine trying to run a store when the cost of supplies doubles every week. You can't set prices, you can't plan, and eventually you give up. And finally, society itself loses trust. Money works because we all believe it has value. Hyperinflation destroys that belief. And when trust in money disappears, so does the stability of the entire economy. So in conclusion, daily life, as you know, comes to a complete halt. Let's look at some real-world examples. In Germany in the 1920s, after World War I, the government printed money to pay off huge debts. Prices doubled every few days. By 1923, people carried wheelbarrows of cash just to buy groceries. Kids made kites out of banknotes because they were cheaper than toys. There's even a story of someone leaving a basket of cash outside a shop. Thieves stole the basket, but left the money. In Zimbabwe in the 2000s, inflation reached billions of percent a year. The government printed a $100 trillion banknote, but that note couldn't even buy a bus ticket. Shops ran out of goods and people used US dollars or bartered to survive. In Venezuela more recently, inflation made salaries worthless within days. Families had to rely on money sent by relatives abroad because local cash couldn't buy food. Some stores started pricing everything in dollars, not in the local currency. Hungary in 1946 holds the record for the worst hyperinflation in history. Prices doubled every 15 hours. Imagine your coffee costs $2 in the morning and $4 in the evening. Hungary printed the largest banknote ever, a 100 quintillion pango. That's a 1 followed by 20 zeros. Each of these cases shows how destructive hyperinflation is. It's not just numbers on a chart. It means hunger, unemployment, and families struggling to survive. So what causes hyperinflation? The main reason is governments printing too much money. If the economy isn't producing more goods and services, printing money just means more paper chasing the same amount of goods. And when too much money chases too few goods, prices explode. Other causes can include war, political instability, corruption, or the loss of trust in government. Often it's a mix of all these things at once. A war destroys factories and farms, the government prints money to pay soldiers, people lose faith in the currency, and suddenly the spiral begins. So can hyperinflation be stopped? Yes, but it's painful. Usually, a country has to abandon its old currency completely. Germany introduced a new currency in 1923. Zimbabwe abandoned its dollar and started using US dollars instead. But by the time these solutions arrive, the damage is already done. Savings are gone, businesses have collapsed, and people are left picking up the pieces. So why is hyperinflation bad? Because it destroys the foundation of everyday life. Money is supposed to be stable. It's how we save for the future, how we plan, and how we trade fairly with each other. Hyperinflation wipes all of that away. It isn't just about prices rising, it's about trust collapsing. And when trust in money goes, everything else follows. The good news is that hyperinflation is rare. Most countries never experience it because central banks now know how dangerous it is. But history shows us what can happen when governments lose control.